Today I'm making some Italian focaccia bread to go with an Italian sausage soup that I'm going to have for dinner tonight. I'm going to use my bread machine. It's really easy to make a focaccia bread. It's so delicious, perfect with a nice hearty soup. And thought I'd show you how I do it. You don't need a bread machine to make this recipe, really, you don't. But I do. I love my bread machine. It's become a staple appliance in my kitchen. I love it because it just makes bread making so easy. I only use it to mix and knead and rise the dough. I will take the dough out of the bread machine and then bake it in my oven. But the early stages of it are so easy with a bread machine that I wouldn't want to be without it. My bread machine is a Hamilton Beach that I got on Amazon, and you can get it for about $70. So to me, that's worth it. I use it frequently, most often this time of year, and I love it. There is a process you should follow when making bread in a bread machine. You start with the wet ingredients, then add the dry, and usually the yeast will be last. So to get started, I'm using 1 cup of warm water. It's not hot water, it's just warm water. 1/3 cup of olive oil, 2 teaspoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, 3 cups of bread flour, and I'll usually even it out just to make it easier for the bread machine to do its thing. And then I just spread the yeast with 1 teaspoon of bread machine yeast across the top. Close the cover, plug in the machine, hear the beep. Then I choose the cycle that I want, and I'm just using the dough cycle. So press the button for 8, then hit start, and that's all there is to it. This is going to take about 1.5 hours for it to mix the ingredients and then to go through the rise. And when it's done, I will lay it out into a pan and add the toppings. About 5 minutes into the mixing process, I check the dough to see if it feels like it needs more water. Especially during the winter months, you need to do this because humidity can really impact how the water is absorbed into the flour. So I am going to add about 1 tablespoon of warm water. And also at this point, I'm going to add a teaspoon of dried Italian herbs and a 1/2 teaspoon of dried rosemary. I'm just sprinkling that over. And that should do it until the dough is risen and ready to put in the pan. The dough is ready to come out of the bread machine. And I'm going to first put some olive oil on my hands. I've greased a 13x9 pan. And I'm just going to deflate and lift the dough. See that it's soft and stringy. Take the paddle, remove the paddle. You don't have to be gentle with it. And it's good that it's soft and pliable. Put it into the pan and spread it to the edges. It might fight with you. You just let it rest a little bit. Keep pushing gently. If it begins to stick to your fingers again, you'll need more olive oil on your hands. It's going to rise again for 30 more minutes after I get it pushed into position here in the pan. There you go. Doesn't have to be perfect. And you're going to make some dimples with your finger in the dough. So I just press dimples like this. Just pressing down right to the pan. It helps to keep the dough in position. Now I'm going to cover it with plastic wrap and let it sit for another 30 minutes. Okay, we're ready to finish up the focaccia bread. It's been rising for about a half an hour. And now the next step is to put dimples into the risen dough again. So I'm once again going just pressing my finger in. Next, I took 1/4 cup of olive oil and 1 large clove of garlic that was chopped pretty coarsely, and then about a teaspoon of Italian seasoning and about a half a teaspoon of rosemary. Now, and that was just brought to heat. I left it cooking until I could just smell it, and then I removed it from the heat and set it aside to let all of the flavors meld together. So this I'm going to just spoon out onto the focaccia bread. Just drizzle it over, all over. Spread it. You really don't have to be, all that careful. You just want to make sure that you're going to have flavor in all the pieces as you cut them and eat them. As it cooks in the oven, the dough is going to rise more and engulf the seasonings and the oil, and it just creates such a delicious bread. I have the oven preheated to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and this will take about 20 minutes. I'll be back to show you what it looks like. Here we are with the finished focaccia bread. When it comes out of the oven, you're going to want to let it cool for about 10 minutes in the pan, and then transfer it to a cutting board. It'll be delicious served with some pesto or some olive oil with some herbs mixed into it. Enjoy!